Hello, welcome back to Layback with Betfair. I'm Tom Haylock, joined by Trent Crebbin, Liam Clancey. Start with you, King. How are you, mate?
Very, very well, Thomas. Looking forward to a good weekend of racing. What about yourself?
Yeah, good. Big weekend, big night. We've got the Betfair event. It's all happening, but we've got two Group 1s, All-Star Mile, the newly anointed All-Star Mile, the Group 1. The Newmarket, what a race that is. A couple of Group 1s in Sydney. Trent, how are you feeling about it all, mate?
Yeah, very excited. Another big weekend of racing. We're really into the swing of things now, and like you said, Betfair event tonight, which will be a good little catch up as well.
Come along.
Certainly, absolutely.
Wouldn't miss it for the world, I assume. Let's get stuck into the first segment we have every week. It is the Lay Bin, my favourite segment. It's like therapy for me. And Trent, controversial Lay Bin for you today. Where are you heading?
Yeah, taking on the big breeding operation, the green and white of Yulong, who moved Angel Capital away.
Oh.
It's disappointing from Clinton McDonald to Chris Waller. There was a rumor floating around that he's moved him because he was scratched from the Australian Guineas the night before, and the owner's a bit superstitious, so doesn't want him with the same trainer and has moved him to Chris Waller, which is just disappointing. Because I think Clinton McDonald's done a great job with him, has won a couple of Group 2s, and maybe would have gone close in the Guineas on last week. So yeah, Yulong, get in the bin.
I couldn't agree more. It's just sad for McDonald. He's done nothing wrong. He's training superbly at the moment. I think he's got the best out of that horse, to be honest. I know he's a talented horse, but it'll just be another Group 2 horse in a massive Waller stable where he'd be getting all the attention in a Clinton McDonald yard and the best horse in that yard. King, thoughts on that, or do you want to dive into your Lay Bin?
Nah, hate it as well, especially with Suyi out the door recently as well. It'd be pretty miserable, but haven't they taken it well? I think they've only gained some fans coming out of the back of that decision. But I'm happy to go straight into opening round and just whack the AFL. Hopefully, I mean, of course they can't control the weather. We ended up with 2 games this week in the opening round. It feels like an extension of the preseason. I honestly doesn't even feel like we've got the AFL starting this week. So hopefully this is the final year that they try and do this, and the opening round can go on the Lay Bin for me.
I understand the reason why they did it initially. It was to get on the front foot with the Queensland Sydney teams to be in line with the NRL season. But the NRL season just went another step and launched in Las Vegas a week earlier. So they've even missed that. So there's actually no point for me.
Well, that's the thing. If they manage to get all these games in Brisbane, Sydney, whatever, and pack out the stadiums while the NRL's in Vegas, sure. But they obviously have failed to do so.
I agree. It's garbage. Get rid of it. I've got an interesting one. Now, I was chatting in a group chat with Blair Gibson, a good mate of mine, and obviously in the racing industry. Now, he was talking about races yesterday, and he sets alarms on his phone for when the races are about to jump. And I told him, do you realise that every wagering app in Australia, if not the world, has a notification thing? He didn't even know. So you can set notifications on any app in Australia, and it blew his mind. So unbelievable.
I can sort of see where he's coming. I mean, that's oblivious, so fair enough. But if you've got a race you really need to see, and if you're out on the golf course or whatever, and just a little notification that pops up that's not giving you a big reminder, sometimes if it's a big one, it's a big race, you need that jolting alarm to let you know.
We're
get
talking
back
about
to the car
race 4 at
and watch the
Pakenham.
race. And we'll race 4 at Pakenham could probably sit there.
Come on, Gibbo. You're better than that. 44 going on 84. Can't get with the times. All right, let's get into Flemington. As I said, All-Star Mile Day, Newmarket Day, great day of racing. Flemington should be good for. We don't have to worry about the weather there, which is fantastic, as opposed to Randwick with showers forecast. Rail out should be a perfect day, even warm day, so it might dry out throughout the day of the track there. Trent, how do you expect the track to play at Flemington?
Yeah, it should be pretty fair, Flemington. Not really much wind around either. So fast deck, you probably want to be defaulting to on speed, but it's Flemington as well, so every horse should get their chance.
Yep. Anything to add?
Nothing from me.
Let's get into it. The Group 1 feels kind of weird saying that. The Group 1 All-Star Mile. The map looks fascinating here. You got Rise at Dawn leading, Liam.
Yes, and I wouldn't be surprised if Gary Portelli's $40,000 7th place horse Flying Trapeze goes and sits outside the lead there.
That's what I had. I had actually keeping Mr. Brightside out, and they'll have a decision to make whether to go cross or try and get in outside of or behind Flying Trapeze there.
Well, you've got, I mean, the 3 you've got at the back are Light Infantry, Man of Tissue, and Tom Kitten. I imagine that Brightside just gets to sit in 1-1 pretty easily. Another wheel from the inside draw will be behind the leader, needing a tiny bit of luck, but Flemington, you imagine, is going to get so. It is a fascinating race for me. I think Brightside's just a touch too short at the 250 quote early. Another wheel looks to have come back so well. I think had that real will to win, to get past Mr. Brightside in the Ore, out to the 1600. I think was actually really dominant over 1600 early in his career. It was just that I think it was the Toorak Handicap that was run from the back. Who won the Antino? I think it just made Another Will not look so great that race, but it actually does have a great record over the mile. So I think this preparation will come back looking just as strong. I think that 280 is about the right mark, deserves to be favourite. I got Brightside just a touch bigger than that. And then the likes of a Tissue at $11, getting back to Flemington over the mile is starting to look like half an attractive bet. But I'm just going to be laying Mr. Brightside with Tom Kitten, obviously having come back so well. Another Will, rightful fave in my opinion, and a Tissue. So Mr. B, the lay of the day for me.
So you've got Another Will favourite.
I do, yes.
Interesting. What's the market got? They're pretty close at the moment. Mr. Brightside slightly
250, 280.
Yeah.
And Mr. Brightside's so bomb-proof, so I can understand why, but I just think in terms of peak ratings performance of this race, I think 250 is just way too short.
What did you make of that CF4 run? The futurity run by Mr. Brightside? A lot of people saying he was a bit flat there. Do you think he'll progress from that, or do you think that's where he's at?
I think that's about where he's at. If we were getting rain and get into that soft 7, heavy 8 range, that's where I think Mr. Brightside has the rest of these covered. But on a dry deck, I think it's a really even bunch, and I always happy to lay the favourite in that scenario.
Trent?
Yeah, I'm pretty similar to the market here. I've kind of got Mr. Brightside a default narrow favourite from Another Will. There's very little between them. I'm pretty much exactly on the market. I think Mr. Brightside has done nothing wrong in his 2 runs, and I thought the market was very interesting in the CF4 first up. Another Will, the market said he was ready to go. He was backed very heavily to beat Mr. Brightside, who was a little bit soft, but stayed firm enough because he's got those ratings on the board.
Mr. Brightside's always firm too. Yeah. He never gets out.
And that made it also even more notable for the support for Another Will, because Mr. Brightside was keeping that market percentage low. They still backed Another Will to beat him and just gapped everything else. It's interesting that he's being kept fresh for this. I thought Mr. Brightside pretty much ran the same number he did first up as second up. And it's interesting to note as well, with racing and sports, his peak ratings actually have all come over the Flemington Mile. He's won a couple of Maccabi Divas last year and the year before, beating Alligator Blood. And he's posted some of his peak ratings there. So I think he can improve again. And I think Another Will could potentially improve again off that big rating first up. So like I said, there's very little between them, and it's potentially just going to come down to who performs best on the day. But I can't really find a betting angle in this one. Yeah,
if I look at the CF4, and you make a great call about that support for Another Will there. If I look at that CF4, I thought swap the run, swap the result. Another Will had the right car into the race, had the back of Mr. Brightside, just nabbed him late. They gapped third, huge margin back to third. But if Another Will was in front, Mr. Brightside had the card, I think Mr. Brightside wins that. Last week, I thought Tom Kitten was a moral beaten. And for that reason, I know he's a bit of a cat, Tom Kitten, no pun intended, but he can be a bit costly. But I can't work out how he's such long odds considering that first up run in the futurity. I know everyone's banking on Mr. Brightside to potentially improve again off that. And I know that was probably a really high rating throughout Tom Kitten's career as well, peak rating there in the futurity. But I've just got Tom Kitten marked shorter, and I'm happy to be with him. I think 550 is a bet. It's just a bet. I just think he's got him marked closer to $4, so he'll do me. He's just got to get off the fence at the right time and get out. So just brings slightly different form through not running in that CF4, and I'm happy to be with him. Anything to add? No, move on. Let's move to the Kewney. Good race over the mile here. We've got a short price favourite. I think we're all pretty bullish. Trent, if you want to kick things away.
Yeah, Treasure at the moment, clearly the one to beat. And the odds-on quote is probably justified. She was very good winning first up, 1400 metres at Caulfield, ran to not a peak rating, but within a length or half a length of what she'd done in the spring. So she won the Wakeful, won the Oaks. And then has run to 108 first up. She was 110 in the Oaks. So she's right up there. And you think she's only going to improve getting to a mile. And she also gave a lot of them weight there with the penalties there, and now she meets them at set weight. So pretty hard to see them turning the tables at a more favourable scenario for her. It's another race that I've marked $1.80 seems about right. There's not one I kind of want to steam into it at anything shorter than that, but it's if you're looking at getting closer to $2, then that's just going to become an automatic bet for me.
He's pretty much said everything that I had down. It's what was quite incredible. She's run the fastest last 400 of that first up race, sitting close to the tempo, and
so outside lead facing down the breeze.
That was a phenomenal performance of a Group 1 Oaks winning filly to come back over 1400. Will should be flat second up 1600. She hasn't been in the past, but $1.80 is a short price to be taken. So I think she's well and truly the horse to beat, as Trent said. $1.80 is about the right price. Silicap and Sneaky Sunrise are probably the two to talk about if we're trying to get the favourite beaten. They were extremely good in the desirable stakes. It was slow tempo. They ran on really strongly, but I do think they'll be running for second. Treasure of the Moment probably going to be too good.
I thought Sneaky Sunrise, I don't know what you think, can turn the tables on Silicap from there. Thought it was coming again late on the line in between them. Probably didn't have the clearest of path the last 50 or 100 metres there. Silicap was good. Do you think Sneaky Sunrise can turn the tables, or?
I've got Silicap a fair margin in front, just over a length in ratings terms, but coming from the outside draw, they're going to have to sit a lot further back on Silicap this week. So I understand where you're coming from, but just got the really good will to win. So I'd be surprised if Sneaky Sunrise beats Silicap.
Yeah, hard laying winner. I'm against Silicap here, and I'm stamping Treasure of the Moment. Mark $1.60. I think she's underrated. I think she's an absolute star. Well, she's won 6 of 8, ran the Quinella in all 8 runs. I still think she's underrated for what she's done. She's won a VRC Oaks, a Wakeful, and to do what she did first up 400 metres, showing that turn of foot you mentioned, running those splits, I think is exceptional. Better suited, drops in weight, up to the mile, just ticks so many boxes. And I actually think Two Done Lizzie might be a danger there, led into that breeze. I know Treasure of the Moment sat outside, but I like the stable up in Trip. I think that's the right form line. So Treasure of the Moment, for me, they're very bullish, best on the day there. She just turns up, she wins in my opinion. So there we go. A race probably we can't be as confident about. What a race this is. The Newmarket Handicap, the Group 1, 1,200 metres, 15 horses down the Flemington Straight. Divides opinions of straight races. Where do you sit on it? You're backing or laying straight races, Trent?
No, I love them. I reckon they're unique to Flemington in Australia, and you get these big fields. Sometimes you get a split, you don't know where to look, and it just adds a little bit of a different flavour to some of these races. I love them.
I'm with you. I'm backing for me. It might be harder to find a winner, but gee, they're a good spectacle. Liam, backing or laying straight races?
Backing the spectacle, laying the betting proposition. I do find them particularly hard to find a winner in, and especially one with, what do we got, 15 horses, very well handicapped to the point where I've got $10 the field here.
Have you?
Shred and Angel, I've got marked slightly on top, $9.70. So good luck finding a bet here for me. Jolly Star.
Sounds like a few lay bets.
Well, Jolly Star and Growing Empire are the two that have come up shorter than my market. So automatically they look to be minor lay bets, or especially those prices I'll be looking to lay in the place for small. But there's very little confidence here. Arkansas Kid is one that I've got marked short, like just shorter than the market. Has trialled really well and really gone to the next level recently. And these sprinting handicaps look to be where he sits well. So if I was going to have a bet, it'd be small bet Arkansas Kid, but I'm going to leave this to you experts.
Don't know about that, Trent.
Well, first off the bat, I'll say it's a pretty thin Newmarket.
It is. Where are all the stars?
Yeah, it's disappointing to see. Even we know the sprint ranks at the moment are really thin, but to have a horse like Switzerland not come here because they were thinking they were going to get too much weight is a little bit crazy to me. Because Benedetta's your top weight with 57 kilos, and she's not, she's no star. She's a good mare, but she's not a world beater. Looking at
she's an Adelaide sprinting horse, that thing.
Yeah, like
that's where she's done her best.
Yeah. And she was good first up in the Lightning, but 57 kilos against some of this is tough going. So just looking at some of these like historical ratings, it's obviously a pretty good horses race. You've got, Black Caviar's one rated 131 down to 116 Zatori, and only 4 horses in this field have posted a peak rating of 116 or better in their career. So that's the kind of standard that we're looking at. that said, I've gone looking for a couple at kind of bigger odds. I thought Mahaba might be one that has flown under the radar a little bit. He ran first up in the Rubiton, and it was a bit of a strange race behind Ray Magnerio there. He was in the market. A little bit disappointing, but yeah, like I said, he was kind of up on speed, a slowly run race. I'm not really sure that's his go. He did beat Ray Magnerio this track and distance during Cup week, giving him 3 kilos. So he meets him better at the weights for doing so. And Ray Magnerio was very good in the Oakley Plate. And I think that's maybe the form line that I'm looking at, the Oakley Plate, rather than the Lightning. This time, the Lightning was kind of a strange race. The big guns didn't really show up. They sprinted late on a deteriorating track, whereas the Oakley Plate was strongly run. We talked about last week with Jimmy Starr. I think that form's going to hold up really well. So Mahaba's, $26 or thereabouts here, and I think he's good enough to win this sort of race if you can overlook his first up run, which I think there were excuses for. So him and the other one is Espionage, the 3-year-old colt. I thought he was okay in the Oakley Plate. He ran 6. He stuck on quite well there.
Looked like it was going to drop right out of it.
Yeah, I thought he came again late. Stays on the 50 kilos here. So when you consider him to a horse like Growing Empire, both 3-year-olds, he gets 5.5 kilos off him. And that win that he had on a heavy track in the autumn last year before he went amiss rated really well. He ran to 113 that day, but backed up by a really strong time figure. So yeah, he's the one that stays down on the minimum weight here. And these 3-year-olds that can get down in the weights do have a good record in this race. So
he's suffered heat stress in that race as well. So you can find a pretty decent excuse if you're looking for it.
Yeah. And like I said, he's the one that's still very lightly raced. I think most of these probably all of these have hit their mark. I don't think anything's going to come out of here and improve much. He's the only one that could.
Liam, Jolly Star, is it just ratings you've got to mark longer?
Yeah, it's a funny one, Jolly Star. I mean, if you plug in that performance, what she did in the Show County where she went through the roof, and everyone thought, well, you know what, she is a sprinter and she's going to be phenomenal. Well, she comes out a length on top of the expected rating to win this race, and that's an absolute a crack. But she hasn't got anywhere near that since, and that has to be a worry. In fact, she hasn't got within 2.5 lengths of that rating since, and that worries me completely for a horse that's coming in as a $5 favourite in a handicap like this. These are all weight adjusted, these ratings, by the way. So it's just hard to have any sort of confidence to back a horse like that up the straight as favourite. So the default position from there is to lay. And Growing Empire, somewhat similar. I'm less confident laying Growing Empire because it was just that one off race. And as Trent mentioned, a lot of good horses and good sprinting horses had an off day that day in the Lightning. So less inclined to lay Growing Empire the place as I am Jolly Star.
I'm fascinated by that rating. She went around favourite in Everest. Jolly Star, which is, you mentioned a race with no stars, to go around favourite in Everest is incredible at $6. I would have thought that rating, if you got beaten 1.5 lengths in a bunch finish, that rating would have been better than her Show County win when she beat out Kobe-san and Fearson. Like, it's fascinating setup. I'm with her. I just think she wins. I think she's the best horse in the race. Complete barrier trial last start. They went 23 lengths slower than class benchmark to the 600. A lot of people saying unlucky. I don't mind horses 3 wide off a tempo like that. Like, they're just walking around. But she still ran the third fastest 600, 400 and 200 of the meeting. And it was the third fastest of that race. It just tells you how slow they did go. I don't think she could have done much more. I think she does have a turn of foot, and I think she can win this. I think I'm treating this as almost a first up run off that barrier trial last start, and she flies fresh. And I think she is the best horse in the race, and I think she can get somewhere near that. So she's clearly on top for me. I couldn't have Stretton Angel, and I say that I just think she's short enough. Can win, obviously, but Arkansas Kid, I'm glad you mentioned Arkansas Kid, Liam. Holds a 4-1 record against Stretton Angel throughout their career. Flies 1200 Flemington, all but won the Gill Guy this track and trip. Ran second to beating a Pimple to Hit a Shock. That form stood up. I think automatic bet as well, Arkansas Kid. So I'm backing Jolly Star and Arkansas Kid. I've just got Stretton Angel marked a bit longer. That's my take on the Newmarket. All right, let's move on to what caught my eye before we head to Randwick. And Liam, do you want to take it away?
Yeah, I think we're going to bring up Jackson Oldham's race at the Valley last Friday night. Is a great little in-play video that the content team have put together that's doing the rounds on social. And And Jacko, we're pretty lucky to have access to Jacko and able to walk us through the benefits of in-play racing.
These are the ones where like the market really just like puts up 100. So it's obviously in the middle here, and then the 4 on the outside comes around it, and and crosses it, and like horses don't win. You know, our outside lead being crossed.
So where have you backed it? Still not yet.
No. There. I was going there was 200, so I went okay. It wasn't home, but
Bold response it was that he got a Skerrick at $1,000, and I think he averaged just over $200. So another great in-play story from Jacko there.
Yeah, incredible. Well done to Jackson. That's fantastic. Yeah, it just shows you, like you said, the advantages of being on track, getting that live feed, obviously slightly quicker than radio and footage there. We know certain apps are pretty quick, but in play, and that horse was rightly that price, was going backwards, got crossed, and incredible and well articulated by Jackson there in play. Well done, and it does show the benefits. If you do want to know how to bet in play or find out more, head to the Betfair Hub, because there's plenty of information on that. There's third-party apps you can bet a bit quicker and whatnot, which is fantastic. So head over to the Betfair Hub, Google that, and that will come up. Now, Trent, Liam's favourite segment by a mile is your ratings, and I'm fascinated by this horse and what she did in the Surround Stakes. We're talking about Lady Shenandoah. How'd she rate?
Yeah, she rated very well, and Liam's been bombarding me with messages and questions saying...
He's a pest. Ratings pest.
You said it. About who potentially the highest rated Surround Stakes winner in history. And it's not Lady Shenandoah. She is the second highest rated winning Surround Stakes winner in history. She's run to 117 on the Racing and Sports scale. Only betted by, and I know Liam's had a few guesses and hasn't gotten it, it was Gold Edition in 2007. Won by 3 lengths, beat Tuesday Joy by 3 lengths that day. She was a pretty good mare, Gold Edition. So
Tuesday Joy was a pretty good mare too.
Exactly, yeah. So edges out the likes of First Seal, who beat Winks that day in the Surround Stakes. She went 116, and a few others have gone kind of around that mark as well. More Joyous, 114, probably a 113. So they're the kind of fillies that Lady Shenandoah was outrated on this occasion. And like we said last week with Jimmy Star as well, backed up by a really strong time figure. They run the hands off the clock here. She sat close to it. Lady of Camelot's gone very well as well. Much better than I thought she would. She must have produced a
really high rating there up to
she's pretty much like in line with what she did in the Slipper. Which is, she's run up to a Group 1 winning performance there. She's just been beaten by a very talented filly. So Lady Shenandoah has now gone 113 in the flight, again backed up by some big late sectionals, 115 first up that hinted that she was kind of this Group 1 star, and then 117 here. She can improve again as well, getting to a mile. I'd be really surprised if they didn't go the open age route now with her. So Coolmore Classic, Queen of the Turf, even the Doncaster would be a good race for her as well.
She would start short price favourite in a Coolmore Classic there. That's amazing. A few people were saying that she might have not performed as well. Obviously, the narrow margin there, but just goes to show that what she did was fantastic, and Lady of Camelot just went to another level outside her slipper. So fantastic there from Racing and Sports. And head over to Racing and Sports, big sponsor and big, I guess, friend of ours at Betfair. So we do a lot of work Racing and Sports. So well done. Thank you, Trent. Let's get to Randwick. We'll start with the Reisling. I think we're flying over this. It's a pretty tough race, but we'll start with the track because just got upgraded to a good 4 again, but there is some rain around Thursday, Friday, Saturday as we record this Thursday morning. Up to 30 mils potentially was the last I saw, but who knows what happens there at Randwick. Liam, how are you heading into this meeting in terms of a track rating, and what are you thinking?
Yeah, it was really good to see that upgrade this morning to a good 4 from a soft 5. We've got 0 to 6 mil Friday, so still a potential for no rain or very little rain. And then Saturday is obviously going to be the big one, which is hard to call because it's still 1 to 15 according to the bomb.
Bloody hell, bomb.
Yeah, so I mean, if you look at the lower ranges there, that's 1 mil between now and Saturday, and we're currently on a good 4. Obviously, we're going to be racing on a very good track.
They won't water it surely with a forecast like that.
Yeah, well, you'd really hope not, but who knows? And then you look at the high range, we're looking at over 20 mil, which is getting into a heavy range. So it's a wait and see. So I think you'll see a lot of my bets, and I assume yours as well, are a little bit hesitant and track dependent. But we'll see how we go. And what are we on the rail's 3 metres out the entire circuit. So it'll be a wait and see, but happy to back horses that'll be running on as well as those at the top.
Yeah, it's a bit easier to lead with the rail out 3 metres than it was with the rail true last week. That's a great promotional side of what we're doing with late mail at Betfair, Liam, because track pattern with a forecast like 1 to 15 mil, the track forecast and the track rating throughout the day can change considerably. So the information you get with the late mail on Betfair is fantastic. So follow the late mail users there and the expert tipsters that do late mail on Betfair, because they get all this information throughout the day, including wagering information, betting flux, track pattern, track bias, etc., and use that all and provide the most educated information as close to jump as possible, and you get that mail straight to your phone using the late mail push notifications on the Betfair app. So if you haven't got it, download that. I don't think we're too keen to play in the Reisling, guys. Race 4 on the program. I just want to mention a couple of interesting debutants down the bottom here. Lady Pankhurst, number 11, and number 12, Nullarbor Jane for John Sargent trains both of them. Interestingly, Nashra Willis on Lady Pankhurst, but Clark rode Lady Pankhurst in a trial but jumps on an Nullarbor Jane, so I don't know what to make of that. I found that interesting. Both win trials, one trial's leading in, both have tactical speed. I don't want to lose if either of those two win, but a very tricky race, the Reisling. I like the Todman Stakes more, Liam, the boys. I think it's a better addition and a better race than the fillies in the race prior. What a fascinating event this is with Woderton. I thought plain, unlucky, disappointing, all of the above, maybe last start, victim of a bad ride potentially. Comes into this as short price favourite, well beaten by Bayvox in that lead up. Are you with Woderton, Liam?
Why can't we just call that run a Baywatch? It would just be so much easier than the tongue twister it currently is.
Do you know what it translates to?
Yeah, I have heard of it.
It's bivouac in German.
Yeah,
and it says by bivouac, so that's why they've called him that. Yeah.
I thought it was Pamela Anderson, but obviously not. That's why we're twisting our tongues. Anyway,
David Hasselhoff being the
yeah. No, I think it's more the latter for Woderton. I didn't think he could do a whole lot more than he did in that race. I think going back around the fastest 800, 400, 200 splits of the race was at the back and caught 3 wide the entire. So actually, and it was a relatively slowish tempo. I don't know how much more you can do from there. J-Mac jumps back on board out of barrier 5 compared to the widest barrier 11 last start.
Just jumps on them and they draw well.
Yeah,
makes you sick.
Of course. So it doesn't make you sick if you're on there. So this for me, I don't think the horse could have done any better. Still holds the career peak performance of anyone in this field on that debutant victory.
And on a soft 7, that win. So if
that
the
was
rain
exactly.
comes around.
Yeah. So if the rain does come, at least you've got a little bit of confidence that the horse will handle that. I think anything near this $2.30 is a terrific bet for what is quite a weak 2-year-old field that we still think we've got. Still the number 1 seed going into the slipper, in my opinion. And happy to take that. I think J-Mac on board gives you a lot more confidence as well that you're going to be in the right spot. And you can pick holes in the rest of the field here. The Blue Diamond form's interesting. I think they're the two that are undervalued by the market so far in Tycoon Star and Tentris. But it's a Woderton race for me.
Everyone's talking about how unlucky Woderton was in the lead up. Tycoon Star was 4 and 5 wide throughout in a Blue Diamond. Ran 33.66, 22.08 and 11.40, clearly the fastest sectionals of the race. His final 400 metres off that wide run was 6th fastest on the card. Incredible run, really. Wet track is a concern for Tycoon Star and a query for many of these, but I can't discount Tycoon Star. I thought that run was enormous. What do you make of the slipper? Oh, sorry, the Todman.
Yeah, I'm with Woderton. I ended up backing him first up. I backed him and West of Swindon and ended up laying Belle Mercy the place, and she pulled up with an issue.
And she paraded really badly.
Yeah, okay.
From what I've heard. So that's interesting.
She might be another one in the Reisling that I'm keen to be against. But yeah, I thought Woderton did just enough. So in hindsight, it probably was a bit of a prep run. Chris Waller often doesn't run his horses in the Silver Slipper. He normally just goes he normally just goes straight to the Todman. So it was interesting that he did have that extra run. And I think it was probably more of a bit of a barrier trial for him. And that ended up playing out. So I don't like to put too much credence on being wide, but looking at the sectionals back in the race, I think he was as good as West of Swindon from where he was in run. The winner was still, don't get me wrong, the winner was still very good, leading throughout Bayvok. But yeah, I thought Waterton with that run under the belt now, and like you said, J-Mac going on and draw much better. He's gonna improve lengths here because J-Mac's gonna put him into a much better spot. He has to win or run top 2 in this to actually make the Slipper field. So there's gonna be plenty of intent here for him. And that first up, that debut run, he's actually matched his rating at Racing and Sports, the raw rating that he ran in that debut run, but the way he did it was very different. So I think we've touched on this in a previous episode that the splits that he ran on debut suggested that he was 3 to 4 lengths better than anything else that's been shown as through the 2-year-old ranks. And first up, I think he just did enough to suggest that that's still in reach. So yeah, it is D-Day for him, but I don't think that the ones that he's come up against have really put up a rating that says that he can't catch these. So yeah, I'm backing him in to do so.
This is why punters get frustrated at Chris Waller, because the games, the barrier trial and a silver slipper, etc., and the flat second up runs or whatnot, he can be hard to work out as a trainer sometimes, and he doesn't always get horses to peak. And what he does do is get horses to peak on grand final day. He's a master at that. This isn't a grand final, but as you said, he needs to run well. Scared stiff of Waterton. You mentioned West of Swindon, guys. We haven't touched on North England, who boasts a win over West of Swindon, has the racing pattern, tactical speed. I think it's an each way bet to nothing here. I would rather take North England each way than back Waterton in. I agree everything you guys said about Waterton. Scary horse, has the data behind him, is the only horse to put a margin on these 2-year-olds as well, and has that win on a soft 7. North England for me though, nice trial, beat West of Swindon, obviously ties in through Bayvok and Waterton, so he'll do me each way. Tycoon Star, the other one, if we're on a fair track, on a firmish track, scared of Tycoon Star. Anything to add? Happy? Let's move on. The Group 2 Challenge Stakes, good speed here. Way to the Stars. Give me the beat, boys. Marzu, even over the 1,000 metres. You expect to be a good speed. Who do you like here, Liam?
Yeah, I and me, Uncommon James, both share the speed as well. So, yeah, I agree with that very much. A fast run race here. If we're on a good track here, I think IME is an absolute belter of a bet. But with the current forecast, I don't think we can quite jump in as confidently. Kamachi is a horse that I'm convinced is going extraordinarily well. Trialled sensationally. Over the 1,000 might just be a bit sharp first up, so watch for her later in the preparation. And there's a horse like Dragonstone who actually went to a new level last preparation and really run some consistent ratings. It's really competitive in this race, less than half a length off, where the favourites sit. So bit grey at the top as of Thursday. If it's on a good track or even a soft 5 come Saturday, I'll be launching into IME. But the only thing that I want to do on Thursday as we sit is lay Marzu, win in place. Was poor in the Lightning first up. We've talked about that race. There's quite a few that were poor in that race. So that's not everything. But I think Way to the Stars will cross him. I could easily see him getting caught 3 wide here with IME and Kamachi getting the gun runs underneath. So I'll be taking on Marzu, win and place. I think we'll need to improve again to feature here. So, and sits third favourite at that $5.50 mark. So Marzu the lay for me on a Thursday, and hopeful that we get a good track so I can hit IME.
Nice. You mentioned Dragonstone. The 1,000 metres brings horses like Dragonstone, Carlos. They're genuine 1,000 metre horses. They turn up. They might not have the class of some of these, but they're fresh. They're 1,000 metre sprinters and gives them a chance.
It's a funny one, actually. Dragonstone and Jetterbill, they're both the same price in the market. Jetterbill a fraction shorter. There was a dominant benchmark 100 race where Dragonstone actually beat Jetterbill and gave 5.5 kilos that day, and we're getting the same price here. And Dragonstone's had a terrific trial and looks to be cherry ripe for this. So if there was a head-to-head market on Betfair, I know which way I'd be leaning.
We might get one up for you, mate. We'll see what we can do. You put some money into the market and people have a bet. Trent.
Yeah, I'm pretty keen on IME here. The only query is a little bit with the weather. I don't like to get too kind of bogged down in horses don't handle wet tracks. She hasn't had that many goes on it, and that's probably more a thought that the stable has probably scratched her a few times from wet tracks. That happened in the Lightning as well. I can forgive the first up run in the Oakley Plate. She carried the full weight there, copped a bit of a bump as well. It was a little bit of a forget race, but her peak ratings at the set weights are well clear of these. So she's a run to 119, 118 a few times in her career. That's quite a bit better than anything else in this field can do. Gets J-Mac on from the low draw. She's going to sit on speed against a few that I think are better suited 1,1400 metres. There's only a few out-and-out 1,000-metre horses in this race, and she's the best of them. If you can forgive that first up run, which I think you can, and the track isn't too wet for her, I think you can get her pretty short. So I think the market's maybe keeping her that long, maybe with the wet track in mind. But yeah, if she's racing and they're happy to line her up here, I'm happy to bet.
Yeah, huge with the conditions. The market has kept Mazu relatively short because of the rain forecast and what happens on the day, and the rain throughout the day is going to have a huge impact on the market. And this race, I agree with both of you. IME, a great bet if we're on a good four. It beat Bellini Patina in a Concord over 1,000 metres this track and trip in the spring, if you don't mind. Beat Steffi Magneta in the shorts over 1,100 metres this track. Just a very good horse. Gets J-Mac barrier 2. Firm track will be winning. Wet track, I probably won't be betting. So that's how I've looked at the race. Let's get to the Group 1. Randwick Guineas, race 7 on the card. 3-year-olds line up. Group 1 over the mile. Dominated by the boys, this race, as you'd expect. Fillies have only won 3 out of the last 35 years. Celestial Legend won this last year on the way to winning at Doncaster, if you don't mind. Not sure what happened to that horse last campaign, but speed map, Trent. Who knows what happens here? Who leads? The Hobartville, 7 of these come through the Hobartville. Mayfair led public attention there, and they both don't turn up. So who have you got leading this?
Yeah, I'm not really sure, to be honest. Maybe
the ambulance?
maybe Linebacker. Like, he did lead first up, and then they rode him with a sit last time, and he was a little bit plain. So maybe they go forward on him. Broadsiding could end up almost sitting in the first 2 or 3 here. And that kind of has me thinking that the odds-on quote is more than fair enough for him. So, they all come through the Hobartville, and Swift Falcon and Aliana were good behind him. But if they're giving him another head start, then it's hard to see how they turn the tables.
Yep. I've got our benefactor maybe taking it up, and if I was advising that stable, I would go forward at all costs on our benefactor up to the mile fresh. I think he might be the leader. Firstly, speed map for you, Liam.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought up the fact that public attention and Mayfair both not here. Firm Agreement would be the one that I see pushing to the lead. Tenbury Wells not far off as well. They were the ones that sat 3rd and 4th in the Hobartville. They get out an extra furlong here to the mile, give themselves more of a chance. But, I mean, that Hobartville was 1.4 lengths above standard. I can't imagine this race would be run anywhere near standard. I think it would be very slowly run. They'd be so dumb if they don't try and go forward on Linebacker. That was such a poor exhibition of riding for last start.
Or tactics.
Well, one of the two. Yeah. One of the, I don't care. They both sit under the same category for me. And made for, a run that was never given a chance. I'm going to be taking them on because I've got no idea what they're going to do now. I hope they go forward, and if so, I'm happy to play a little bit in play. But I think this slow tempo really hurts the chances of a horse like Swift Falcon, who doesn't have that tactical versatility to sit forward and always goes to the back. And you're up against a field of horses with a good turn of foot, such as Broadsiding Aliana, who's going to be ahead of Swift Falcon in the run, which just makes it so difficult. Broadsiding's going to be extraordinarily hard to beat, but it's a prohibitive price at $1.60 odd. Aliana's the one that I've got marked second favourite that I give quite a strong chance to. Just looks too big in the market here, and will be sitting in front of Swift Falcon. It's one of those situations where we're getting $7. We're not getting the $2.50 the place that you'd think because of the short price favourite. We're only getting $2 on the exchange late. So Aliana will be a small win bet for me. If we do see even money for the place late, I'll absolutely launch into that, but I don't know if we will. So Aliana's the one I want to play, and Swift Falcon, just with the way the race sets up and the likely slow tempo, I'll be taking Swift Falcon on.
Talk to me about the slow tempo. I know Broadsiding go through his career and he's performed well off slow tempos, but they've been 4 or 5 lengths slower than class benchmark, a lot of them. I think it's a bit dour, and the fact that he, like Swift Falcon, ran the fastest 600 metres of the meeting last start in the lead up, which was an outstanding run. Took ground off broadsiding. I agree. Broadsiding said it was ahead of Swift Falcon in the run, and that's advantage broadsiding. I'm concerned if they absolutely walk here that some horses might be sharper than broadsiding, and that's probably why I can't get broadsiding down. Like, look at the Golden Rose over 1,400 metres. Took a long time to get there and took a brilliant J-Mac ride and threw the horse over the line to get there in a Golden Rose over 400. I just query that he's not as sharp off a slow tempo than some of these. Any believers in that, or are you happy to back him in?
I still think he'll handle. Like you mentioned, that Golden Rose. I think if he still runs that number, I still think he beats this. Because I think this is a weaker field than that Golden Rose was. Look, Swift Falcon was outstanding first up in the Hobartville. His sectionals late there were very, very good. He's come home off the top of my head about 4 or 5 lengths faster than broadside in that last 600, and using the sectional markups racing in sports, you can make a case that if he'd run his race more evenly, he would have won. Now that doesn't always work out because broadsiding was, closer to the speed and he's down late and Swift Falcon's out the back doing nothing. But I really wanted to find Swift Falcon here, but I just think that they might just set up too similarly again, and broadsiding's just going to get the cozy run close to the speed and Swift Falcon's going to have too much to do. So I can't really lean either way, but I really did want to find Swift Falcon here.
I didn't find Swift Falcon in the Hobartville, but just looking at that run, I think he's a better 1,400 metre miler than he went to the Spring Champion. They were going to test him over a Derby potentially, but I think the stable realised that he was probably just a really good miler. And I think he gets his chance here. I've got broadsiding on top of Swift Falcon. I just don't really see a bet with the market at the moment.
Just before we push on as well, massive shout out to Zach Lloyd getting broadsiding in the 1-1 from barrier 11 last start in Hobartville. That was phenomenal.
Yes, look forward to chatting to him in Sydney for the Sydney BFF function, which will be fantastic. This is one hell of a race 8, Group 1, 1,300 metre Canterbury Stakes. What a race this is. Wolf back and trip, saved, or had the issue, slight knock to a leg and missed the Very Elegant last Saturday. Ends up here over 1,300 metres, different setup for him. Average tempo again here. Liam, how have you found the speed?
Yeah, I thought Royal Patronage, it probably wound up enough to go to the front here. Here to Shock is obviously fit and firing, a terrific win over there in New Zealand last start. And Pericles can sit close as well. Never really saw much daylight first up last start, so I think they'll be there. At the other end, I think you've got Sunshine in Paris, will likely go back to last from that draw. Switzerland potentially similar. And I don't know if they'll be doing taking too much into their own hands on Wolf with bigger and better things in store. You'd have to imagine over the 1,300 this would be more of a prep run than really trying to. I mean, yes, it is a Group 1 worth over $700,000, but they've got bigger fish to fry later, I think.
So that's not much money for a Group 1 in Sydney, 750 grand. Yeah, I tend to agree with Wolf. Probably hard to find. Never won below 1,400 metres, Wolf. So that's interesting. Back in trip here. Have you seen the race, Trent?
Yeah, very tough. Complicated by a few of these horses first up. And a lot of them have ratings that are pretty much in line with each other. Like Sunshine in Paris, Steffi Magnetica, Magic Time. There's probably a length between them at their best. Maybe my slight lean out of those would be Steffi Magnetica. But her and Sunshine in Paris are probably going to get a long way back here. And if they're not going quickly first up, then it's just going to be difficult. You give yourself so much of a disadvantage by going back in these sorts of races that even if you do have a ratings edge, it can be hard to win. I actually thought Hit a Shock he's been well backed early. I'm not surprised because he's just improved. He's run to 119 there last start, winning by 4 lengths in New Zealand, which is kind of pretty much what Magic Time and Sunshine in Paris are both rated at their peaks. He's got the fitness edge. He's drawn barrier 2. He's probably going to land he might even lead this. He could land in the first couple with Nash on. So I kind of thought that he was the safe option. I probably don't think he's going to be missing a place. And the other one that I probably just have to go with is Switzerland. I wasn't with him first up in the Lightning, and he was okay there. We know that was a bit of a strange race, but he's still got a peak in this that the others can't match. Whether he can get back to that Coolmore number of 125 with a bullet next to it because of the time remains to be seen. But you're now getting over double what he started first up in the Lightning. 1,300 metres, I think, is far more suitable for him than 1,000. And I reckon they're going to go forward with him. J-Mac on, drawn wide, but there's not that much speed. I reckon he slots into the 1-1 here, Switzerland. And if that's the case, it is a bit of D-Day for him. I think he's too talented to let go out around that price.
Incredibly scary race for me. I got Sunshine in Paris on top from Steffi Magnetica. Switzerland in for third and Magic Time in for fourth. It's too hard for me to predict this far out because Sunshine in Paris and Steffi are genuine risks first up on wet tracks if we do get that as well. Can you believe Steffi Magnetica's only won 3 races in her career? She's probably Bjorn Baker's best horse and stable's fine, but she's won 3 races, one at Wellington and one at Orange.
Yeah, I was going to say, I remember coming to Flemington off that Orange victory, and I was laying her to the house till the cows came home, and got the money that day, but I was completely wrong. She should have won, and you knew that was a very talented horse. As you say, it's so difficult to have confidence going hard at this without knowing what track rating we are. Because if this gets into a heavy 8, heavy 9, Magic Time $4.60 at the moment will get absolutely smoked.
And I think being kept safe at that price because of
correct.
the forecast.
I mean, you couldn't. I personally couldn't mark a favourite if we knew we were getting a bone dry deck, but I've absolutely got a marked favourite with the possibility of heavy track. That all age victory, when she was just way too good for the rest of the field that day, I think it was a heavy 11. But anyway, my best each way of the day is going to be Steffi here. I love this horse. As you correctly point out, Bjorn Baker is on fire. Zach Lloyd's on fire. Everything's coming up trumps for this horse and has looked really forward in her trials for this run. The 1,300 metres suits. Should have won the Golden Eagle last preparation over 1,500 when got knocked out late and Lake Forest came up the inside. And she got knocked down at least 2 lengths there. Should have won that. I just think she's a horse that has had no luck in running, but you're getting $9 to find out. We're getting $3 a place. I think that is just absolute charity. So I'll be following Steffi the whole way through the prep here. Can't wait. She's one of my favourite horses and best each way of the day.
Love it. There you go. Liam, very keen with Steffi Magnetica. If it is wet, any concern?
Yeah, absolutely. It'll be nowhere near as confident. I'll only have a very minor bet if it does get into that heavy range. But if it's a soft 5, soft 6, absolutely no problem in the world.
Yep, fair case. I'll give a good case for Steffi Magnetica. You mentioned Sunshine in Paris and that all-age victory by Magic Time. Beat Sunshine in Paris was 6 lengths there on that heavy 10.
Big figure.
It has to be, but that's the nature of this race with the forecast. We could be on a heavy 9 or a good 4, good 3. Incredibly hard. Any other bets at Randwick? Trent, anything to mention on the card, or should we jump in the Hamburger?
Yeah, I think we'll go straight to the Hamburger.
Well, go on. Who are you with?
Yeah, I'm going to be going back to the challenge with IME. I think she's probably my best of the day in Sydney. If she runs to her rating that she can produce, and she's done that multiple times over 1,000 metres, she will beat these. She's so suited at the set weights in 1,000 metres with J-Mac on. Yes, the rain is a little bit of a niggle, but I think if it does get very wet, they'll probably scratch. And if it's not too wet, then she should be okay. Komachi just looks a bit short for me at 1,000 metres. She's a very good mare, but I just think over 1,000 metres, she's going to be outsped by some of these types. So she's second favourite and only a couple of points off IME in the market. I think that's too close together.
I didn't realise she was second favourite. That's a fair.
440, 450. Yeah,
couldn't get her down that price
short.
over 1,000. I agree with Liam. She's a star. But there's genuine 1,000 metre horses in that race, and I'm not sure she is. Liam, what's your Hamburger, mate?
It's hard to argue with that one from Trent. I'm a big fan of that. I'll be playing that too. Randwick Guineas for me, Aliana each way, and then we'll be laying Swift Falcon just due to the race shape. I think it's a very talented horse, but another day might be more suited.
Oh, I've gone a bit of a cheeseburger here, not a hamburger with a lot. Very soft by me. I just want to feed. And a little entree. I think Treasure of the Moment, a very good thing. Just has to turn up with all 4 legs and we'll be winning there. And I'm laying Silicap. We could lay Silicap to place as well. Can lob into third. So if we can get a top 2 lay, potentially, I'll be laying the top 2 for Silicap. I think the others in that race can turn the table. So Treasure of the Moment, my best bet on the program, and we'll lay Silicap there. Best bets, Liam. Steffi in your mix?
Steffi each way will be my best bet in the Canterbury Stakes. Can't wait to see her come back. And best lay of the day will go with Mr. Brightside. I think there's just a few to even at the top. $2.50. Happy to take him on.
9-time Group 1 winner. Probably 10 if you include the All-Star Mile win. Incredible.
Yeah, $2.50, bit short.
I love it, mate. Trent?
My best. I'm going to go to Flemington race 4. It's the Shaftesbury Avenue. Really keen to just take a little Dutch bet of 2 horses here. I think Fancify or number 6 Fancify or number 10 Is It Me will be winning. Fancify, I think you just forgive last start. It was copped horrible conditions just before the race. She led into a typhoon storm at Flemington and dropped out. She was still very heavily supported that day. The market had her running pretty much up to her best. And Is It Me's won a couple of benchmark 84s over this track and distance, but one with 60 kilos last start put up a rating that kind of matches pretty much anything in this field at the weights, gets down to 54 kilos. Against the likes of Ayrton and Territory Express up the top that have got to give these weight and fitness, and I don't think there's that much between them. So Fancify and Is It Me both down on 54 kilos. Pretty confident one of them wins, and you can get just better than even money if you dutch those up. So that'll be the best of the day at Flemington.
There might be a nice little market going up if we can back Territory Express to run second. Just loves getting back and flashing down.
You just reminded me of the sickest beat on Cox Plate Day.
Yeah, correct.
Oh, that was so bad. Kewney Stakes for me, I think Treasure of the Moment wins race 8. They're number 8. I'm very bullish actually in the Newmarkets, believe it or not. 15 horses down the straight. I probably shouldn't be, but Jolie Star I think is a great bet to win. I'll be having something number 3, Arkansas Kid as well. There, small bet, Tom Kitten. Anything else? We're good. See you tonight, Trent. Betfair function.
Can't wait for it.
Got to go home and rehearse what I'm saying. Liam, been a pleasure. You'll be there tonight as well.
See you there, Tommy.
Thank you for joining us on Layback with Betfair. We'll be doing it all again next week.
You win some, you lose more.
For free and confidential support, call the number on the screen or visit the website.